Hello and welcome. If you've ever thought about investing in the Nigerian stock market, but just felt, well, a little overwhelmed by it all, then you've come to the right place. We're going to break down the entire process step by step using some amazing insights from Adeyemi Adebanjo's book, Tips and Tricks for Trading Stocks in the Nigerian Stock Market. So let's just dive right in.
It really wasn't that long ago that trading stocks in Nigeria was a completely different world. The author, Adeyemi Adebanjo, he tells this great story about his dad. Imagine him having to pore over newspapers, watching TV constantly for any little bit of financial news, and then making these long trips all over Lagos just to sign a piece of paper or pick up a dividend warrant. It was, as he says, manual and laborious.
But that world, it's basically ancient history now. Today's market has been totally transformed by technology. It's easier to get into, it's way more transparent, and you can do it all from your phone. Yeah, this is not your dad's stock market anymore.
Okay, so that brings us to the first big question, right? With this brand new landscape, why should you think about trading Nigerian stocks right now? Let's think of this as your call to adventure.
First things first, let's clear the air on a huge misconception. So many people think that playing the stock market is just a fancy form of gambling. And look, if you treat it that way, it will be. But you'd be missing the whole point.
The book really frames it perfectly. Think of it as an entrepreneurial activity. When you buy a stock, you're not just placing a bet. You are literally buying a small piece of a real company. You become a part owner. You have a claim on that company's assets and, hopefully, its future profits.
And, the Nigerian market today has a ton going for it. We're talking about a market with some serious growth potential, where a lot of fantastic companies are, frankly, undervalued. Plus, it's never been easier or safer to get involved, thanks to things like fully electronic trading and the Investor Protection Fund.
Now, to trade successfully, you gotta learn to read the room, or in this case, the market's mood. You've got bull markets and bear markets. A bull market is basically when everyone's feeling optimistic, confident, and prices are generally heading up. A bear market? Well, that's the opposite. Confidence is low and prices are dropping. So the fundamental strategy is actually really simple, at least in theory. You want to buy when things are on sale during a bear market, and then you sell when prices are high during a bull market. That's it. That is the basic rhythm of how you make a profit. Okay, so you get the why, now let's talk about the how. It's time to actually open your trading account. Think of this as crossing the threshold. You're stepping into the world of investing.
And honestly, it's a pretty simple four-step process. First, you fill out a form with a stockbroker, and you can usually do this online now. Second, you hand over some basic ID documents. Third, you put some money in the account. And fourth, your broker opens something called a CSCS account for you. That's just the secure electronic warehouse where all your shares are kept safe. And for that second step, the documents, you're just going to need the usual stuff. A valid ID, proof of where you live, like a recent utility bill, a passport photo, and your signature. They call these your Know Your Customer, or KYC docs. Account open? Check. Money in the account? Check. Now for the really exciting part, making your first move. This is your first challenge, taking that smart, strategic first step into the market. So where do you even begin? There are so many companies to choose from, it can feel like a lot. But the author points to a very specific type of stock that's pretty much perfect for beginners who are looking for that first win.
And that category is penny stocks. Now, in the Nigerian market, these are simply stocks that trade for 5 naira per share or less. So by their very definition, they're super low priced.
So why start here? Well, for one, they're obviously really affordable, which means you can buy a whole lot more shares with less money. And because their price is so low, they just have so much more room to grow. The author calls them rare gems because they're often ignored by the big shot investors, which means they can be seriously undervalued. Think about it like this. For a stock that costs 1 naira, to double your money, it just needs to go up by 1 naira. But for an 800 naira stock to double your money, it has to go up by another 800 naira. The potential for massive percentage growth is just so much higher with these smaller stocks.
All right, you've made your first trade. Now it's time to level up. This last part is all about gaining mastery and learning how to trade smarter, not just harder.
A question I hear all the time from beginners is about fees. Are there hidden costs that are going to secretly eat away at all your profits? The good news is no.
There are no hidden costs as long as you know what to expect.
This table breaks it down. You'll pay a small percentage to your broker when you buy and sell, along with a few tiny regulatory fees. It's all standard, and your broker will show you the total cost before you ever click buy. It's all very transparent. And this leads us to maybe the most important point of all. Long-term success in the market isn't just about picking the right stock. It's about how you trade. It's about building the right habits and strategies from day one. This means you have to trade with tools. Actually research the companies you invest in. Use online charts to look at a stock's price history and find a good time to get in. Check out the trading volume to see if other people are interested. And please, most importantly, never, ever buy a stock just because someone gave you a hot tip. Do your own homework. And that really brings us to one of the most powerful ideas in the entire book. And it's summed up perfectly in this quote. At the end of the day, you are in the driver's seat. Your success or failure comes down to the skills you build. It's such an empowering way to think about it. You know, learning these steps isn't the finish line, it's the starting line. This is the very beginning of your journey as an investor. You now have the map, the foundational knowledge to start building your portfolio and really your financial future. We've laid out the entire path for you, from understanding the market's mood, to opening your account, to making that first smart, strategic trade. So the only question left is, now that you have the map, what's your first step going to be?